Hey, good afternoon, guys. Today's video, I wanted to talk about how to run a sub 3 hour marathon. This is a highly coveted, respected marathon time that a ton of marathon athletes, half marathon specialists, 10K specialists are aspiring to run. And the truth of the matter is there is nothing easy about breaking a sub 3 hour marathon. My goal with this video is to share some of the tips and strategies, tactics, things that I did over the past 28 years to get to a point where I was able to run a marathon in 2 hours, 19 minutes, and 35 seconds. In 2007, I ran pretty much the race of my life, finishing fourth overall and as the top American at the 2007 California International Marathon. Out of all the courses that I thought I would run that fast of a time on, Sim would not be it. Yes, Sim is a net downhill course, but there's a lot of rolling hills on that course, and it's never continually net downhill. There's downhill sections, there's uphill sections, there's most of the course is flat, but there's a lot of ups and downs on that course. And I always thought that maybe like Chicago or Columbus or Rotterdam, these types of courses would have been the types that I ran those types of times on. But in regards to a sub 3 hour marathon, how to run a sub 3 hour marathon is you have to do a lot of things correct. Sometimes you can do everything properly in training and still not break that fast of a time. You do have to have a level of talent. You do have to do the right amounts of training, not only mileage, but you have to be very specific when it comes to running 2:59 or faster for the marathon distance. One of the first recommendations is you find a fast course. Let me be the first to tell you that there is no real such thing as a fast course. You have to be physically fit, mentally prepared to sustain 6 minutes and 52 seconds per mile over 26.2 miles. There are no shortcuts. There's no easy path to breaking a sub 3 hour marathon. But you do have to get on a course that is flat, that has very good competition, the types of competition that will pull you along when things get really tough in the race, because they will. The marathon distance, as you already know, it involves a lot. It will take a lot out of you. You have to train in a specific manner in order to make 6:52 mile pace feel more in control and efficient for that entire distance. One of the blessings that I had as a former member of the Army World Class Athlete Program is I had athletes around me that were better than me, that took me out of my comfort zone on a continual basis. And that's what I recommend for you in trying to break, in terms of how to run a sub 3 hour marathon. Get around people, athletes that have broken the barrier, and that will get you to a level of fitness where you are capable of breaking the 3 hour marathon. You have to get on the track. You have to spend time well below 6 minute mile pace. Doing, like I've talked about in other videos, doing mile repeats anywhere from 5 minutes and 20 seconds to 5:40 per rep. Getting to a point where you can do mile repeats, 6 mile repeats on the track between 5:20 and 5:30 or 5:20 to 5:40 with very minimal rest. Getting early on, as you're getting fitter, you want to give yourself 3 minutes rest. As you get really fit, drop it down to 2 minutes rest, because again, in the race, there's no break in the race. So you have to get your body to a point where you're teaching it to clear lactic acid faster than it's building up. And that's the overall goal when it comes to how to run a sub 3 hour marathon, is improving your lactate tolerance. You cannot improve your lactate tolerance, improve your anaerobic threshold, improving your aerobic capacity. Your anaerobic threshold is around, you're running around 164 to 174 beats a minute. So it's a very highly efficient, very aggressive type pace, but you want to spend longer periods of time, doing your AT runs, your tempo runs. What I recommend for athletes that are trying to break a sub 3 hour marathon is extend the amount of distance you're running that tempo run at. A 3 mile tempo at your AT pace will give you definitely a physiological boost. But there's a difference between 3 miles and getting to a point where you can do up to between 10 and 14 miles at tempo pace. That is going to make you so strong over the 26.2 mile distance. That's the types of tactics that I use to run 219. I was always focusing on how can I run as efficient as possible without slowing down. You know, I need to run more efficient than my competition. I have to do the things that maybe they're missing and get to a point where I can clear lactic acid faster than it's building up. You know, that's a big culprit. The hydrogen ion component of lactic acid is what really shuts down muscle functioning. And the way you improve your anaerobic threshold and your lactate tolerance is to run at speeds much faster than 6 minutes and 52 second mile pace. You know, again, you have to hold that pace 26 times consecutively with no break. So this is why a sub 3 hour marathon is so difficult and such a highly coveted time that so many athletes around the world are chasing. You know, another thing in regards to how to run a sub 3 hour marathon is you have to get beyond just doing long runs every single weekend at a relaxed pace. You know, one of the biggest reasons why I was able to improve from running a 2:43, which was my personal best in 2002, to a 2:19:35, which I set in 2007, was I started running my long runs at 160 beats per minute. That was at about 85% of my maximum heart rate at that time. And that's a key strategy, key tactic that you can start using to get to a point where, you know, you run not only under 3 hours, but you just demolish that pace. You're running highly efficient because you've spent long periods of time training at a very high heart rate. And not only that, another strategy that I used, and in regards to the long run, I don't want you running hard every single weekend. You need to run a harder long run, which means, you know, if you're doing, say, an 18-mile long run, you know, do a 6-mile warm-up, nice and relaxed, and then run the last 12 miles at 160 beats per minute. Another tactic I used was I would do these types of long runs, but every 4th mile of, say, a 20-mile long run, I would run a sub 5-minute mile right in the middle of the long run. And then the next week, I would be out doing a 20 to 22-mile long run at like 7-minute mile pace or 7:30 mile pace. There were days I'd run as slow as 9-minute mile pace. The reason why I say that is because I trained around half marathon runners and marathon athletes that could run sub 103 for the half and sub 210 for the sub 210 and sub 211 for the marathon distance. These are athletes that can run well below 5-minute mile pace, under 5-minute mile pace over the 13.1 and 26.2 mile distance. So how to run a sub 3 hour marathon takes a lot of different strategies in order to achieve. And it's not just about long runs. It's not just about running high mileage. Yes, you're going to have a level of talent to break a 3 hour marathon. You have to have a combination of talent and a ton of passion and drive in order to achieve it. My goal with this video and with RunDreamAchieve.com is to prepare athletes to train smarter rather than harder. You have to get beyond, okay, I need to run 100 miles a week for 16 weeks in order to break a 3 hour marathon. And of course, the more important tactic is to train smarter and to increase the percentage of your weekly volume that you're training far below 6 minutes and 52 mile pace. It's a combination of training below mile pace, marathon mile pace, and training, you know, above marathon mile pace. You have to incorporate rest and recovery into your training routine. You can't run fast every single day and expect a return on investment. You're simply not going to be able to break a 3 hour marathon by doing that. Yes, you have to get on the track. Okay, this is another thing I was doing continually. I was always working on my speed. I wanted to, in 2007, I wanted to break the 2 hour and 22 minute barrier. That was my goal. I was a 2:43 marathon specialist at that time, so I knew to go from 2:43 to 2:22, I had to make some drastic changes. I had a personal best in 2007 of 51 minutes and 53 seconds for the 10-mile distance. I had a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to become a member of the Army World Class Athlete Program. I was on conditional status, so basically what that meant was the Army was giving me a 1-year period to train for the 2008 USA Olympic Trials. I missed the USA Olympic Trials standard prior to the 2008 Olympic Trials, which were held in New York City in November of 2007. But I did achieve the USA Track and Field Olympic Trials A standard time of 2 hours 20 minutes flat 28 days after the Olympic Trials were held. I ran 2:19:35 in December of 2007, which was 28 days after the trials were held in November. So to me, it was like making the Olympic team. I mean, this is coming from somebody that I didn't have a great deal of talent, but I spent from 1992 when I first started running up until that point, 2007, preparing myself to run as fast as I could. And I knew that even though my PR going into the 2007 California International Marathon was 2 hours 40 minutes and 2 seconds, I had run a 1:07:06 half marathons in September leading into the 2007 Cal International Marathon. So I knew I had the capability to do it. So what you have to do in regards to, how to run a sub 3 hour marathon is look at your other personal best. You have to continually work on your speed. The faster you can get at the 5K, 10K, and half marathon distance, the more efficient you're going to be able to run over the marathon distance. Now, yes, there are a lot of things even if you're improving and you're getting fast over the 5K to half marathon distance, there are no guarantees with the marathon. I wish there was like a silver bullet, some perfect advice I could provide to you. All I can do with my videos and RunDreamAchieve.com and the courses that I create are to share my expertise and background and the exact steps, the exact things I was doing to get myself to break a sub 3 hour marathon. I created a course on RunDreamAchieve.com called the Sub 3 Hour Marathon Pro. If you click on the link on this video, or type in the link that I made on this video, you'll find, or if you just go to RunDreamAchieve.com, click on courses, you'll find a course called the Sub 3 Hour Marathon Pro. And what that course is basically a series of tutorial videos like this, where I talk about specific components of a sub 3 hour marathon. And at the end of that course, I created a complete 16-week strategy, day by day, week by week, month by month, on what you need to do to run 2:59:59 or faster for the marathon distance. There are no shortcuts when it comes to a sub 3 hour marathon. It's one of the most, it's an extremely efficient, tough, aggressive pace. Even with me having run 2:19, I couldn't just go out and run a sub 3 hour marathon without putting in some heavy work. Anybody around the world, regardless of what their personal best are, that's run well under 3 hours, will have to put in some heavy running in order to sustain 6:52 mile pace over 26.2 miles. So it's about doing a lot of things correct. You have to practice hydration. You cannot get into a marathon, even if you do everything right in training. Even if you've done the hard anaerobic threshold training, you've gotten on the track, you've spent some time around training well below 5-minute mile pace, you've done mile repeats anywhere from like 5:20 to 5:30, you've done the 2-mile reps. You can do all of that. You can have all the motivation in the world. If you neglect hydration and drinking sufficiently in the race, good luck at trying to break 3 hours. You'd better take this advice seriously. Start practicing drinking more, taking in more calories during your long runs. This is one of the biggest mistakes I made over the years. I was not drinking enough in the race. I would get to mile 16, mile 17 in the race and just fall apart. I had times where I was able to run sub 2:20 marathon pace up until about 18 or 19 miles and just shut down, like to the point where I was walking and jogging the last few miles of the race. In fact, the majority of my marathons, I've ran 240s, 230s several times, 250s several times. In the majority of those efforts, I was like anywhere from sub 220 to sub 228 marathon pace up to the 220 or up to the 20 mile mark. In the last 10K, I was just fell apart. And one of the biggest reasons why I was doing that is, one, I wasn't running a high I wasn't running a high enough percentage of my weekly volume well under 6-minute and 52 mile pace, at that point, because I was trying to run for me, I was trying to run 222, so I wasn't spending sufficient time really running at 525 mile pace. I had spent a lot of time running at 6-minute mile pace. I spent a little bit of time running around 540s. But for me, the goal was always, how can I run as efficiently as possible and get from start to finish in my goal pace? And so I had to start working better on my hydration. I did that by putting water bottles out every 3 miles of my long runs, and the focus was always to consume the entire bottle, the entire contents of all the bottles of my the bottles that I put on the ground during my long runs. So again, I was also continually working on speed, which you need to do in terms of breaking a 3-hour marathon. You know, how to run a sub 3-hour marathon is it's not an easy question to answer, because it's not just about one specific area of training. You can't just do speed training. You have to do long runs. You have to lengthen your tempo runs. The longer you can get that tempo run out as well, will also make you even more prepared to break a 3-hour marathon, because it's about improving your lactate tolerance, improving your anaerobic threshold, training at your aerobic capacity, which, your aerobic capacity is your absolute maximum oxygen uptake. It's the point where your body's producing more lactic acid than you can clear. So that's the reason why you can't go on the track and sprint all out for a mile. You can sprint all out for about 50 meters to 100 meters and start, maybe a little bit further, but not much further. And that's because there's just too much lactic acid buildup, and your muscle functioning starts shutting down. It's really the hydrogen ion component of lactic acid that shuts down muscle functioning. So how to run a sub 3-hour marathon? It's about putting in consistent, persistent mileage. You have to put in high volume, but you also do not need to get caught up in I have to run high mileage in order to break a sub 3-hour marathon. You just need to build consistent volume over a longer period of time, preferably 12 weeks to 20 weeks in length. But you also have to continually have that focus on, what is the percentage of my weekly volume am I spending closer to or far below 6 minutes and 52 seconds per mile pace? Because again, you want to run as efficient and economically as you can over the 26.2 mile distance as possible. You want to be more efficient than your competition. So that's kind of, those are a few of the tactics and strategies that I use to not only run under 3 hours, but to eventually break 2 hours and 20 minutes. And the same strategies and tactics it takes to break 2:20 is the same it takes to break sub 3 hours. The paces are different, but the strategies are the same. The principles and the fundamentals matter. And if you neglect any one of these, you're really going to set yourself up for failure. You want to, like I said, in summary, how to run a sub 3-hour marathon involves running consistent mileage, spending time, much more of your weekly volume, a higher percentage of your weekly volume, at paces that are closer to, 530 to 545 mile pace. That way you make 652 mile pace feel very easy. It's about practicing hydration, taking in more calories and taking in more fluid in training first. That way if you make a mistake in training, you know how to adjust in the race. You don't want to not practice that part of your preparation and training and then just get to the race and sip a little bit of water out of a few Dixie cups and expect to run at your highest level for 26.2 miles. You just cannot neglect that piece, okay? It's also about mental training. You have to visualize yourself seeing 2 minutes and 59 seconds and 59 minutes and 59 seconds on the clock. Visualize yourself, anywhere from like 15 to 20 minutes per day for that 16-week block of training. See yourself doing it. You have to see it in your mind first. The great Billy Mills said it best: the subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between reality and imagination. He went into the 1964 Olympics, a 29 minute and 20 second, I think his PR was, it was around 29:30 for the 10K, ended up running 28 minutes and 27 seconds and winning the gold medal. In fact, he's the last American to win the gold medal in any Olympics. So you have to visualize yourself doing this. You know, for me personally, I saw myself breaking 2 hours and 22 minutes. I knew I was capable of doing it, but I also knew there was a lot of things that had to go right in the marathon distance before I was able to do that. And I had to, you know, I had to take my licks. I had to make those failures in training and in my races too. You know, I didn't just run 2:19. I had failures too, just like you, just like anybody else. So, you know, my advice is not the be all end all. It's not like you know, Nate's got it right. There's people that are going to watch this video and they're going to be like, nah, Nate's not right on that. I would do this differently. Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to get to a sub 3 hour marathon. You know, how to run a sub 3 hour marathon involves a lot of different tactics that you have to get right. Another thing that I think is very, very important is do a 10-day taper. Do not do a 3-week taper. Try it out if you've never tried a 10-day taper. Give it a shot. I set my PRs of 50:54 for 10 miles, 107:06 for the half, 2:19:35 for the marathon, 1:44:05 for 20 miles, all 4 with a 10-day taper. So I always felt that 3 weeks out, starting to drop your intensity and your volume, 3 weeks out, at least for me, made me feel lethargic. So with you, you know, try a 10-day taper. You start dropping your volume significantly and your intensity significantly in those last 10 days rather than 3 weeks out. You know, it's kind of just, it'll remind your body, remind your legs of what you're asking it to do up until 10 days out. I always do a 5K tempo run at goal race pace 4 days out from a major race. And every time I've done that, I've set a personal best. So that's another tip. I'm going to leave this video. I'll leave my advice here, but I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, you're brand new to the channel. My name is Nathan Pennington. I've been competing in middle to long distance running for the past 28 years. I'm the founder of RunDreamAchieve.com. And my goal is to get athletes, regardless if they're here in the United States of America or around the world, to produce new personal best and get and surpass what they think is possible by training smarter rather than harder. So if you like this video, click on the subscribe button, click on the bell icon, give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment below, let me know what you think, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video.